right, it's 5 o'clock. Good evening. Call this meeting to order. Welcome to the July 27th regular board meeting. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I will entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda.
And second the motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. On to public comment. We have
There are
none.
There are no
Okay.
constituents signed up.
Moving on to the 2021-2022 school operations plan with Superintendent Albertson.
Okay, so what I want to start with is next week, August 2nd, we need to have our operations plan submitted to the State Department of Education. And I want to start by showing you the form, and this is what the form looks like, and this will be available to our patrons on our website. And basically it's called Safe Return to In-Person Instruction and Continuity of Services Plan Checklist. I am not going to read this for you at this point in time, but I just wanted to let you know that our plan is going to go through and address some of these issues, and we'll be marking yes on most of these. If there are some that don't pertain, then we will mark no, and then we'll keep coordinating with the State Department of Education. One requirement is that every 6 months we need to update our plan with public input, and then send that back to the State Department of Education. There's a table 2, which is a narrative that has in our plan of how we're going to address learning loss and mental health issues, and then the assurances down here are also things that we just say that these are correct on this form. So this will be submitted next week. There is another form on us, how we spend our ESSER dollars. It's not due till, I believe, November. So at this point in time, I'm not going to really discuss that. Okay. Within this last week, so let me back up. I will go through the operational plan that you approved in June, and what I wanted you to see today is what the patrons will see on our website and how they can get this information. Before I do that though, a week ago I sent out 2 surveys to get patrons' input on our operation plan, and I think you have a hard copy of the results there, but I also will display this. And I sent 2 surveys out. Unlike last summer, I combined the survey with staff and parents, but this year we did a staff survey separate from parents so we could kind of pull that information out. The first question, and I wanted to make it simple, and within a week we had 228 staff members partake, so that's roughly probably 50%. The first question was basically a list of what was the rank your highest priority, and this is kind of giving us guidance in how we're spending our ESSER dollars. The highest ranked item was maintaining the number of teaching staff from last year. Second, and you can kind of see this was in order here, increased paraprofessional support in classrooms to support learning loss. That was the second in the rank. Increased counseling support at the elementary schools. Again, you can see came in as the third highest ranked on the survey. Improved ventilation where needed in school districts then went to the fourth. And you can see it kind of went in order here of the things, and this just kind of gives us where the staff, what priorities they had. Likewise, then, there were two questions. One question was, on April 12th, 2020, the Lake Pend Oreille School District School Board changed face coverings to optional only rather than required for staff and students. Do you agree face covering should only be optional for the 21-22 school year? And of the 227 that replied, and this is the staff survey, it came out to be, let's say, 85% agreed to keep the policy as is, and 15% did not. And then it was the length of the school day. Do you agree that Lake Pend Oreille School District should have a full day of school for the 2021-22 school year? And again, it was an 83-17. So overwhelmingly in favor of those two. On the parent survey, you can kind of see had the same questions. The rank order, again, the highest rank order, and by the way, we had about 916 answered this question. We had 12 that skipped the first question. Usually we have a hard time getting a high percentage, but we were happy with getting 916 responses. And again, 63%, their highest priority was maintaining the number of teaching staff from last year. 43% increased well, if you wanted to go as rank, 18% increased paraprofessional support was their number one, and you have that data in front of you. I would say maybe one that was a little different is maintaining the hand washing and sanitization was a little higher ranked, and we will be doing all of these anyway.
Right.
It's not like we're cutting any of these out, but just kind of wanted to know where the parents were with this. So with that, then the next question was on, do you agree on face covering should be only optional for the 21-22 school year? And we were at 89% yes and 11% no. And then on the length of the school day was 86.5 to 13.7, about 87.
So very similar.
And 13. So very, very similar. And so this kind of affirms a little bit about the plan that you had approved in June.
Yeah.
So on our webpage, what we will have for patrons, for parents to look at, it will look something like this. Start dismissal time is already on our website, but they could access this again here. And this would be available to parents so they would know, and this is in order from the outlying schools that have the earliest start to the earliest dismissal, and it's kind of how the buses are going to run from the outlying schools. They're going to start a little earlier just because kids are going to be there. And so this is what you approved previously in June. And then we broke this into categories here. And I guess I don't want to read everything to you here, but there's a button for facilities that we can always update. We are in the process of installing touch-free hand washing stations in the schools. All schools have touchless water bottle filling stations, maintaining extra custodial services for heightened sanitization each night. Cleaning procedures will continue from the 2020-21 school year, and in the process of improving ventilation throughout district facilities. And again, this is just a review of what you already approved in June, but I just wanted to let you see what the patrons would see. Transportation, we did enhance the routes last year. It wasn't significant, but it was half a route that we wanted to be more efficient with. That will continue. High school and middle school students will ride together in the afternoon. Hand sanitization stations will be on the buses. Buses are disinfected twice per day between the routes. And specific bus route information will be communicated from the transportation department to families. So, and if there is, anything that, you felt needed to be included, you could reach out to me. Food service, again, I don't want to read all these bullets, but basically it's saying that all students will eat for free again, breakfast and lunch. And so this has that information in there. Pearly, at this point in time, and we did put it in here, there was a poll at the end of this school year that there wasn't a lot of interest for the free breakfast at Clark Fork High School, but we did put it in here that if that interest were to change, that's something that we could accommodate and work towards. So,
do they have to, does a family have to fill out the forms now or not?
what we just got some word from the USDA is that the forms need to be available for them.
Okay.
They do not need to fill them out, but we need to make them available.
So how do we qualify for our Title I monies? if we're
It's
not qualifying
still
students?
based off of 2019 at this point in
To where it's
time.
just a carte blanche.
And we don't know at what point in time that's going to have to be corrected and how they're going to do that. That's a question we have as well.
Yeah.
So that is still,
So if a child is at school, they can get lunch without,
Breakfast
I
and
mean,
lunch.
the forms are available to their
Right.
parents or guardians,
Right.
but they don't, as long as, if they're there and they come up and say, hey, I need lunch, they get lunch, correct?
Correct.
And
Okay.
they don't have to be qualified
No.
on the
No.
2019.
no. We also have Idaho Digital Learning. So all students will be enrolled in face-to-face instruction, and this again just came off the PowerPoint that I presented to you. With the attendance expected outside of parental excused absences, students are expected to attend school, but then we also want them to know that Idaho Digital Learning Academy is a fully online school that would be available for families K-8, and they did bolster the topics, so the curriculum will include ELA, math, social studies, and science for elementary, basically through 8th grade. High school students may take IDLA courses. They could not take IDLA courses for 4 years in a row and meet the state's graduation requirements. So if it was for 1 year, say the freshman year, that they felt that they still wanted to do fully remote, we could probably accommodate that 1 year, but then they would have to work with our counselors to get a 4-year plan to make sure they're on track to meet the state's requirements. Again, teaching and learning button here, same things that we had covered. Things that we're doing to address learning loss, we're going to maintain staffing, increase the paraprofessional support. There's some strategic schedules that are still going on, and a lot of the specifics will be delivered from the individual buildings. Increased elementary counseling, high collaboration, PLC teams in all buildings, 90 minutes of math instruction, 120 minutes of ELA instruction, and that will be consistent in every elementary school. Yeah, Gary?
Just getting back to the online curriculum, IDLA, are we going to continue to have our own full-time staff to work with the at-home school students in our district?
Well, any student who is absent should be able to access their work through our learning management system, Schoology. Okay. Are we?
Those are absent ones, but
Correct.
This past year,
If they chose no, they would need to go
home
IDLA,
learning, yeah.
Idaho Digital Learning Academy. We don't have the shortened day, and so putting double duty on our teachers there with not giving them the extra time to do that is not
I
feasible.
thought we had a staff member who was dedicated to.
We do have a staff member who's going to be working on the Idaho Digital Learning Academy,
Yeah,
and they will
that's what I
be
mean.
the conduit for parents and answer all the questions, help them register, will help them with that. But if I understood your question, could a student say, I'm going to remote learn and not go to school and just
have
go
support by
to
certified
the
staff.
teacher's learning management site and do that. No, we're expecting students to enroll
Yeah.
face-to-face. There's social emotional learning. We are having additional elementary counseling, as we had talked about. We do contract with outside mental health agencies to provide in-district counseling sessions. That's been something will continue. Return to student activities, field trips, after-school programs, opportunities for students to socialize, and continue free meals. And then also for the staff, we have our employee assistance program if needed, and you can look at that. And then our COVID guidelines, as we discussed in June. Diagnostic and screening testing will be the responsibility of individual families. They can do that at their primary care physician, Kinixu Health. Masks will be optional for students and staff in Lake Pend Oreille School District. If you choose to wear a mask, here's the proper way. So we want to provide that. We will rely on parents to screen students for potential COVID symptoms on a daily basis. That's no different. Vaccinations are readily available through the primary care providers and pharmacies. We encourage any parents who would like to have their kids vaccinated to seek that out, and we can, if there's someone wanting that information. Accommodations will be provided for students with disabilities in their individual education plans and 504 plans. And then I did put in here, we're still wait till August, so any student who tests positive will still need to self-isolate for 10 days. Quarantine guidelines will be updated in August at this point in time. I'm still gathering some more input, which I would come back to the board on, of what some other school districts are doing.
Okay.
It's a little different. Contact tracing guideline, it's important that parents keep students home who are not feeling well or have potential exposure, and we will continue the following: hand washing, respiratory. So basically, this is the shell of our plan that we will submit to the State Department of Education. With any specifics, about schools will be delivered from the school. So the questions, yeah.
Okay. This page will be available on our LPOSD website?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
It's a great resource. There's tons of info there.
Right, and so I try to run it by people to think of that as a parent. What other questions might you have? Because I don't want a resource to lead to more questions.
Right.
So I want to try to be as thorough as possible. But I think we've tried to cover everything.
Yeah.
But that this is kind of the plan that you had approved, and then it would be easily to update this.
Yeah.
I know there's some other school districts that are still submitting their plan from last year, but I don't feel that our plan from last year helps our parents. And so to me, what's most important is that we have communication out to our families about this school year. And then obviously any changes to this plan will have to be a decision made by the board.
Right.
So,
Tom, I had a question. If a student tests positive, and of course he's out for 10 days,
right.
well, the old policy was if people were near him,
Right.
that they were quarantined. Now, my question is, if the students in that situation have been vaccinated, fully vaccinated, are they exempt from the quarantine?
That's some decisions that still need to be made. We still are based off our old plan. I would say I'm following Coeur d'Alene School District closely. I believe their board said they're not doing any contact tracing. It was easier last year for us to do contact tracing when we were in our cohorts and we had our shortened day, and we could narrow the focus of the students who may have been exposed. If we're at a full day of school, it's going to be much more difficult to contact trace.
Well, I think it'd be nice if parents knew that
Right.
They're not going to be penalized. Their kids are vaccinated.
Correct. They
And
will,
then,
right,
they're quarantined.
right.
And it may put more pressure on people to get the vaccination.
I'll just say that I don't believe that was a decision that was ever made by the board.
No.
So that could be something that we would look at for a future
It
agenda
really hasn't been
item
addressed.
before the school starts, so that we could add that to the plan, so that families would know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But also,
Vaccines are only recommended for what, 12 and up?
12 and up, correct. Yeah, yes.
but the fact that we essentially can't contact trace, it almost makes that example almost
Yeah.
moot.
Well,
Right.
what's really, to me, the most important is, and last year was great. I so much appreciate the parents last year, and that the parents were monitoring their kids and
Right.
keeping their kids home if they were showing symptoms and or were sick. And that is the number one thing that we need to have happen again this school year. I really want to have the least amount of disruption to students' education. If we go back to our infectious contagious disease board policy that has nothing to do with per se, I mean, you could put COVID in that policy, but if it were to be a bad flu season, when you had a certain percent of students that were sick or staff, you might shut this whole school down for 5 days,
Right.
just so that people could get better. So again, those are some things that we'll probably be having some future discussion on. And I would like to gather some more information on that and I'll bring forward to
Yeah.
you. So we already have our infectious contagious disease policy.
Mhm.
And one thing we could do is just follow that board policy that's already in place. So,
I like I like the plan, and I also like the ability for families to plan based on what we're doing. You know,
Right.
the hardest thing for folks is to not know,
right,
hey, are we in school, out of school, 2 days a week, 5 days a week?
no.
So
Yeah, and we've already have some information on our website as we
Right.
get it. But I'm anxious to get this up there. And again, this is what you approved in June, and then submit it to the State Department of Education. And then, as we learn, and if we have to tweak a few things, any adjustments would be fully communicated out to all families.
when are you sending this to the state?
It's due next Monday.
No, okay.
So I would like to do it the end of this week.
This week. Okay.
And have it readily available for our, I mean, we get phone calls every day about just registering and just getting ready, thinking about getting kids in school.
You can email
So-
families and say, we have a plan, it's on our website, if you'd like to access it.
Through our school messaging system, we could send this out in a link so that they can view the whole plan and let them know it's also posted on our website.
I would
We
support that.
fully
You know,
communicate
that all
this.
the parents are aware that we have a plan.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Gary.
All right.
All right.
Well, that is what I wanted to show you, so you were informed.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right. Any
Thank you,
discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. And do we have any announcements?
Schools aren't in session, so there's not a lot going on. I know there's some sports registration dates coming up beginning of August, and fall sports will get started in multiple schools, and those schools will be sending that information out to parents. When I talk to many families, as August approaches, then all of a sudden they start thinking about school.
School time,
So,
yeah.
So are you optimistic that our enrollment will rebound up to that 300?
Yeah, I mean, I really think that we're going to be right at the 3,800 students.
Dave, anything you need to throw in?
No, just finishing hiring the last few folks, and
Nice.
registration, sports registration is a week from today, right? Is that August 2nd already?
Yep.
There you go.
Cool.
So, summer maintenance projects, I know our facilities director's not here, but
Right.
can you update us on
The
what's
big,
ongoing?
the big projects that we had going were the outside of, in the repairs at Clark High
Clark.
School. And I think Matt gave us an update at the last meeting on that. The rest of it is just the redoing the floors, painting projects, all the gymnasiums will be refinished. We do that in-house now. We probably changed that 10 years ago. So anyway, Matt's crew has been busy working on that. Obviously, with the did talk to Matt this week. It's a little tough if you hear anything about the lawns and stuff. We are watering them, but just like anything else, it's hard to keep things green when we've had the extreme weather.
I drove by Clark High School yesterday, and it's the only green grass in the whole town. It's
Okay.
beautiful, you know?
Yeah.
Looks,
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
They're working
Families
hard
out
at
there
it.
Our
with kids
facilities look
playing
pretty
With
fantastic.
their dogs, it was nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Vice Chair, I would also like to announce, as last board meeting, our trustee positions that are open, and potential candidates can file declarations and petitions that are posted and found on our district website, and can be filed with me, the clerk of the board, by September. I believe it's September 3rd.
We file with you, not the
Yes.
county clerk?
Not the county clerk. So in the petition and declaration packets that are found on the website, all instructions are within there.
Okay.
Is that new? It seems like we
Nope,
filed with
that's-
the county clerk.
That is within code.
It is the 3rd of September.
It's third, yeah. All right. This meeting's adjourned.